unimaginable possibilities in the Marvel multi-universe, we give you the one person who could play Victor Von Doom.
Nigga, what?
Now, I love me some RDJ. I actually don't hate the idea of him returning to the MCU in some multiversal fashion, as that was kind of expected with how many different actors they've brought back leading up to Avengers Secret Wars, particularly in Multiverse of Badness and more prominently in Deadpool and Wolverine. Have a cameo here and there in Secret Wars, as that movie is probably going to be cameo fest incarnate, since that'll be the wrap up of the Multiverse Saga before heading into the Mutant Saga. I don't even hate the idea of an evil variant of Tony Stark being the main bad guy, honing in on how the one guy who saved the universe is now taking part in the potential destruction of the multiverse. That could be compelling if executed correctly. So if I'm fine with all of that, what exactly is the issue? Him playing Victor Von Doom is where my issues lie. Dr. Doom is hands down my all-time favorite Marvel villain. I absolutely adore this nigga. I trust the Russo brothers considering what they've done for Marvel in the Infinity Saga. I'ma let them cook, and I love me some Robert Downey Jr, but man, this is not something I would have expected. You have no clue how many times I've seen people defend this casting choice with the whole, well, it happened several times in the comics, they're just pulling from the source material, and it's just cover screenshots of infamous Iron Man, or especially the cover of Iron Man Demon in an Armor. This is a genuine question to people who use this as a justification. Did y'all actually read this book? Like, I'm being so serious right now, because I don't find it to be a strong argument if you're using a what if comic as your defense. Literally, the entire premise of that story is Victor Von Doom and Tony Stark switch bodies. Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom were roommates in university, and Victor tricks Tony into taking part in an experiment that will have them switch minds and erase Tony Stark's memory. Do you know how many crazy shenanigans happen in what if comics or in the actual main continuity? That's like saying in James Gunn's DCU, the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow film should have her be a Red Lantern because it happened that one time in the New 52, or how Batman in that same universe should be Dracula because it was a DC Elseworlds book. Like, some of y'all really typed Dr. Doom Iron Man on Quora or Google search and found the covers of Demon in an Armor or Infamous Iron Man and went, yep, see, you can't complain, it happened in the comics. Just because something happened in the comics does not automatically make it a good idea for an adaptation. I've been waiting for Dr. Doom to make his debut in the MCU for quite a while now, ever since Disney acquired the rights for the Fantastic Four and X-Men characters. I remember the rumors of him popping up in a post-credit scene in Wakanda Forever. Obviously that bogus rumor never happened, but the thought excited me nonetheless. I'm not too keen on introducing multiversal counterparts or variants of characters in a grand way like this before implementing the main version of said character in the main timeline going forward, because with this whole RDJ thing, there's no way in hell he's going to play Victor Von Doom in the MCU after Avengers Secret Wars, if they're following through with the whole soft reboot thing. It'd be one thing if they went with some wacky cameo like, hey, what if Robert Downey Jr. played Dr. Doom from another Earth for a few minutes, similar to the cameos we saw in Deadpool and Wolverine, just something crazy but fun. But that's obviously not the case here because he's playing the main bad guy. I feel like whenever we do get a proper Dr. Doom in the MCU after Secret Wars, his introduction will be a lot less impactful because we already got a version of him played by a much more significant actor. The general audience doesn't know jack about comics, so this will likely be their first introduction to how much of a menace Dr. Doom can be. It's just like, oh hey, it's an evil Tony Stark. One of the interesting things about Doom is how he pretty much almost never takes off his helmet, as his face is severely disfigured due to an experiment gone wrong at Empire State University where he attempted to build a machine that could allow the astral form of someone to enter other dimensions, seeing as his way to free his mother's soul from Mephisto's clutches. There's no way in hell in Avengers Doomsday Victor's keeping that helmet on all times. Robert Downey Jr. is getting paid significantly more than $80 million. Bro's salary is gonna make up like half the budget. Knowing Disney, they're gonna put his face all over the marketing. With that horrendous floating head poster format these movies keep using, you got folk out here talking more about Peter Parker's potential interactions and dynamic with Dr. Doom than with Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four, and that is just so disheartening. Again, I have no issue with Downey coming back as a villain, but if they wanted to do that, why didn't and they just use Superior Iron Man. I don't understand the notion of him taking up the moniker of Doctor Doom or Victor Von Doom when that's an entirely separate character. And what sucks is how we have never gotten an accurate or even good live action depiction of Doom and the Fantastic Four. If we're talking in any medium, animation or live action, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes still holds the crown for the best adaptation of Doctor Doom ever put to screen, despite how little he's in it. The Fantastic Four First Steps movie sounds good from what I'm hearing, but all I can do is pray they don't fumble the bag for the third time. When you're adapting an iconic story from the comics, it's never going to be copy and paste, and that's perfectly fine. The MCU has had plenty of great stories loosely or somewhat based on iconic Marvel comics like Civil War and the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, but there are a few stinkers like Thor Love and Thunder's piss poor attempt in depicting Gore the God Butcher and Mighty Thor from Jason Aaron's run. In the context of Secret Wars and the Multiverse Saga, it didn't surprise me that they were going with Doctor Doom as the big bad ever since they fired Jonathan Majors, and there were reports before San Diego Comic-Con that they were renaming Avengers 5 and were moving on from the Kang plot. If RDJ playing Doom was always the plan for Avengers 5, then honestly, I don't know if I would have had as much of an issue with it. It's like, okay, they're cooking something in the background, but we all know this was never the plan because Avengers 5 was initially titled Avengers the Kang Dynasty, with the seeds being planted in Loki and that certified stinker titled Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. They didn't want to recast Kang, so they went with Doom. I really hope we're not in a position where it's giving somehow Palpatine returned vibes. Using Doctor Doom as the plan B or as the replacement option always worried me going in because he's not something you use as your backup. It would work better if they had actually cemented the character in the MCU during Phase 4, but there's not been a single mention of him or Latveria. There have been a few Secret Wars events in the comics, but due to how the MCU is utilizing the multiverse and incursions, it's no doubt they're taking the most inspiration from Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars from 2015. I feel like the casual viewer thinks that the event is just some giant cameo fight scene when looking at the cover, disregarding the fact that a big emphasis of the story focuses on the dynamic between Victor Von Doom and Reed Richards. That story hits so hard and is so impactful because of the established history between the Fantastic Four and Doom, which is one of the reasons why I wanted more time to establish the Fantastic Four and Doom in the MCU before delving into the biggest story involving Victor becoming God Emperor Doom, absorbing the power of the Beyonders. Everybody knows RDJ is a phenomenal actor. I mean, the dude is literally an Oscar winner now, so it's no surprise they'd want his face in the MCU again. Nobody would dare doubt his acting ability, and he does have the range or talent to play a compelling villain. There would honestly be no MCU without him, but because of that, I'd imagine it would be difficult for some people to disassociate him from being Iron Man, even if he is playing a different character or a Tony Stark variant. Again, Superior Iron Man was right there, but whatever. One of the potential issues with this has to do with MCU synergy seeping into other mediums outside the MCU. Case in point, they'll create comic titles that are so obviously inspired by whatever's happening in the movies and shows, like the Thunderbolts lineup, Captain Carter getting her own solo book, making a miniseries on the TVA. I can't imagine what they'll do with Doom nearing the release of Avengers Doomsday in theaters. On a more positive note, Robert Downey Jr. did say that he wouldn't have come back unless the Russo brothers were attached to the project, and they have said they've wanted to do Secret Wars way before the Multiverse Saga was up and running. This could all work out at the end of the day, and I'm just yapping nonsense, but if that is the case, then that's a good thing. Despite any concerns people may have about this movie is gonna break $1 billion within like a week. Even though I'm not too keen on the casting, they already got my ticket. You may say you're done with the MCU, but let's be honest, you're gonna be their opening weekend. I just don't want them to fumble Doctor Doom or the Fantastic Four for that matter, as one of the reasons why I even stuck around with the MCU even after Endgame and during the reign of mediocre Disney Plus shows was to see those characters finally implemented in a meaningful way. But I guess that's what the soft reboot is for, so we'll see what happens.